The Cornelia Marie was one of the most well-known boats on the TV show Deadliest Catch for over 10 years. It became famous because of Captain Phil Harris, who ran the boat with skill and heart. His sons, Josh and Jake, promised to continue what their father had started after he passed away. The boat wasn't just a fishing vessel, it became a symbol of hard work, family, and legacy. But in August 2022, everything changed suddenly and dramatically. A hidden court document that had been buried for many years appeared online. It revealed something shocking about Josh Harris, something he had kept secret for 24 years. The details of the crime were so serious that the Discovery Channel took immediate action. They removed all the episodes that featured the Cornelia Marie, and even major streaming platforms took down the entire series that included Josh. The legacy that Captain Phil worked so hard to build was torn apart by a mistake Josh made when he was still a teenager. The Cornelia Marie had a long and proud history. It was built in 1989 at Horton Boats, located in Bayou La Batterie, Alabama, a town known for building ships for generations. The boat was one of the last big fishing vessels made by Elmo Horton, an experienced shipbuilder. It was 128 feet long and 28 feet wide, with a draft of 11.7 feet. It was made from heavy-duty steel and designed to handle the harsh, dangerous conditions of the Bering Sea. It had two powerful diesel engines that gave it enough speed to compete when racing to the crab fishing areas. It could carry 28,500 gallons of fuel and held 3,000 gallons of fresh water, which allowed the crew to stay at sea for long periods without needing to return to shore. Building the Cornelia Marie cost $2.5 million, a huge amount of money at the time. But it quickly proved to be a strong, reliable boat that could handle anything. The name of the boat also had a special meaning. It was named after Cornelia Marie Collins, the wife of the man who had the boat built, Ralph Collins. Cornelia wasn't just Ralph's wife. She also worked alongside him in the fishing business. Naming the boat after her showed respect for her strength, partnership, and dedication. In a world where most ships were named after myths or abstract ideas, the Cornelia Marie stood out as a deeply personal tribute. Sadly, all of that history, meaning, and effort now lives in the shadow of what happened with Josh. What was once a proud symbol of family and determination is now tied to a scandal that changed everything. Even after Cornelia and Ralph Collins got divorced, she remained co-owner of the Cornelia Marie, and her name stayed painted on the side of the boat. Its unique aquamarine and white colors, with bright yellow banners, made it easy to spot anywhere from Kodiak to Dutch Harbor. From its early days, the Cornelia Marie faced some of the most dangerous and challenging conditions in the Bering Sea. It was used to fish for king crab, opilio crab, salmon, and herring. Thanks to its large fuel and water tanks, it could stay out at sea longer than most other boats, giving it an advantage during the short and intense crab fishing seasons. The early crew was made up of a mix of experienced fishermen and newcomers. Together, they faced freezing waves, powerful winds, and constant threats from the sea. In 2005, the Cornelia Marie even joined a rescue mission when the fishing vessel Big Valley sank. Only one person survived that disaster. Moments like these built the Cornelia Marie's reputation long before it ever appeared on television. During the 1990s and early 2000s, the boat was already considered a star in the world of crab fishing. At one point, a major refit added 22 feet to the boat's length, allowing it to carry an extra 100,000 pounds of crab. That meant it could haul in more than 300,000 pounds in a single trip. While other boats struggled during tough seasons or even sank, the Cornelia Marie kept going. Its continued success was the result of careful planning, smart leadership, and a hard-working crew. These qualities made it the perfect fit for a reality TV show like Deadliest Catch. Captain Phil Harris became one of the most important parts of the Cornelia Marie's legacy. He joined the crew in the early 1990s, eventually becoming a co-owner and taking over as captain in 1998. Phil was known for being tough and demanding, but also incredibly loyal. He treated his crew like family and stood by them during good times and bad. His bond with the Cornelia Marie lasted more than 20 years. Phil Harris had a rough start in life. He left high school at the age of 17 in his hometown of Bothell, Washington. He had fished with his father since he was a child. One day, a friend told him about the huge money in crab fishing. This friend had made over $100,000 in a single season and bought a brand new car. At that time, Phil was driving a beat-up Chevy Chevelle. Inspired, he left school and headed to Alaska. His first season didn't go well. He made no money and even quit, but when the captain made fun of him, Phil returned with more determination. At 19, he finally had a breakthrough year, earning $130,000. By 21, he owned his first boat, the Golden Viking, after being handed the captain's chair on his birthday by his previous skipper. But owning a boat came with big problems: debt, constant repairs, and trying to earn respect as a young leader. At one point, he had to come up with $50,000 for urgent repairs. Still, Phil never gave up. By his mid-20s, he had become one of the most respected captains in the Bering Sea. Phil was known for smoking non-stop, barking orders, and running a tight ship. But beneath his rough style, he had a big heart. He shared profits fairly and never made his crew do anything he wouldn't do himself. Many of his crew members kept coming back year after year. His personal life, though, was rocky. He went through 2 divorces and had problems with substance abuse. Still, he always made his crew his top priority. His biggest stress didn't come from the danger of the sea. It came from empty crab pots, because he hated the idea of his crew not getting paid. Under Phil's leadership, the Cornelia Marie continued to improve. The boat was even cut into 4 sections and lengthened by 22 feet to increase its crab hauling capacity by another 100,000 pounds. His sons, Josh and Jake, also joined him on board, helping turn the Cornelia Marie into a true family legacy. In 2005, everything changed. The Cornelia Marie became one of only 4 boats chosen to be featured full-time on the 2nd season of Deadliest Catch. That wasn't just luck. Discovery Channel had to choose from over 250 boats, eventually narrowing it down to about 89. The Cornelia Marie stood out because of its strong fishing numbers, and because of Captain Phil Harris. At first, Phil was unsure. He worried that having cameras on board might disrupt life on the boat or show things that should stay private. Negotiations were difficult. The producers wanted boats that were both dependable and full of personality, and the Cornelia Marie had both. Phil always wanted to protect his crew's privacy and make sure that filming didn't get in the way, especially during dangerous work on the Bering Sea. Around the same time the show was taking off, the crab fishing industry made a big change. From the chaotic derby-style fishing to a new system where boats were given individual quotas. Only the best and most reliable boats were chosen to be part of this elite group, and the Cornelia Marie earned its place. Bringing Phil's sons, Josh and Jake, onto the Cornelia Marie wasn't just a family decision. It made the show more emotional and relatable. It added real depth to the story. But Phil didn't go easy on his sons. He made sure they worked just as hard as everyone else on board. What the audience saw wasn't scripted or fake. It was real life. There were tough moments, arguments, and scenes where being a father clashed with being a captain. One powerful scene that stuck with fans was when Phil looked at Jake and said, "You need to go to treatment, man. At least you'll have a fighting chance." That moment showed the raw, painful truth of addiction and family love. The show followed the brothers as they learned the tough, unforgiving world of crab fishing. It also showed how their lives changed when Phil's health started to fail. When Phil died in 2010, millions of fans across the world were heartbroken. Josh tried to take on leadership, while Jake struggled with personal battles. Their ups and downs made viewers feel connected, like they were part of the family. Deadliest Catch wasn't just a TV show. It felt like real life unfolding in front of the cameras. Phil's unique personality was one of the biggest reasons people loved him. He spoke his mind without holding back and used humor to get through tough situations. His quotes became legendary, like, "I feel like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest," or, "Now you know why lions eat their young." His rough honesty, his humor, and his fierce love for his crew made him unforgettable. When Phil had a stroke and passed away, more than 5.4 million people tuned in to watch the episode. Many cried alongside the Harris family. Phil had become much more than a captain. He was the heart of the entire series. Even now, fans still remember him. His quotes are shared online. People buy shirts and hats with his sayings. Some even have tattoos in his honor. His spirit lives on, not just in the memories of those who knew him but in the fans who still feel connected to him. And of course, there was the boat, the Cornelia Marie. It didn't look like any other vessel. With its bright yellow and blue paint, it stood out instantly. But the color wasn't just for looks. It turned the boat into a brand. Fans bought merchandise with the Cornelia Marie logo. They snapped pictures of the boat whenever it came into port. The look of the boat became a symbol of strength, tradition, and resilience. Even when the boat changed hands or took breaks from the show, its image remained strong in the minds of fans. The Cornelia Marie also had a reputation for big crab hauls. From the beginning, it was known as a top-performing boat. Phil pushed his crew hard, always aiming to catch more than the competition. During the difficult 2005 season, the Cornelia Marie was one of the top boats. Phil took risks to get ahead of storms and stay ahead of rival crews. And the boat itself helped. It was strong, fast, and built to handle the worst the Bering Sea had to offer. The Cornelia Marie was 128 feet long and strong enough to carry almost 300 tons of crab. This size allowed it to take longer trips and bring in bigger hauls. Its impressive catches weren't just exciting for television. They were proof of the crew's hard work, dedication, and skill. At the center of it all was Captain Phil Harris, a man with a huge personality and an even bigger struggle with addiction. He wasn't just the tough and determined leader of the Cornelia Marie. He was also the man people saw constantly smoking, often lighting one cigarette from another, drinking pots of coffee, and chugging cans of Red Bull. It was a dangerous routine, and it slowly destroyed his health. Even after suffering a pulmonary aneurysm in 2008 while at sea, Phil didn't stop. Doctors warned him. His crew pleaded with him. His sons begged him to quit smoking. But he wouldn't listen. The same man who had survived brutal storms in the Bering Sea couldn't beat his addiction. In 2010, at just 53 years old, that addiction finally caught up with him. He suffered a massive stroke. It was the end of a long, painful battle that he had never fully confronted. His sons, Josh and Jake, also struggled under the weight of this family curse. Addiction ran deep in the Harris family. Phil had reportedly given Josh cigarettes and alcohol when he was just 10 years old, starting a pattern of damage early on. Jake's decline was even harder to watch. He battled heroin addiction, was arrested multiple times, and in 2024, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison after leading police on a high-speed chase. Josh tried to hold everything together, but he had his own problems too, including issues with theft and relapse. The family went through many dark times, trying again and again to rebuild after breaking apart. Even owning the Cornelia Marie didn't make things easier for them. The boat, built in 1989, was expensive to maintain. In 2015, they had to replace the engines with two new 758 horsepower Cummins diesel engines, a huge cost that forced them to bring in new business partners. The bills kept coming: fuel, insurance, crew wages, constant repairs. Josh once said the boat felt like a black hole that swallowed money. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the situation got even worse. Crew wages increased up to 10 times the normal rate, and every season felt like a risky gamble. One bad catch could ruin everything. To keep the boat afloat financially, they had to take bigger risks, like going after golden king crab in deeper and more dangerous waters. On top of all that stress, there was the pressure of being on TV. The show didn't always make things easier. Sometimes the crew had to delay trips or keep filming even in risky conditions. Producers wanted drama, danger, and tension, because that's what made good television, but it also made fishing even more dangerous. There were even times when Discovery Channel pulled the Cornelia Marie from the show, not because of fishing problems, but because of behind-the-scenes issues like legal trouble or concerns about the boat's image. The crew had to survive the sea while also living under the microscope of millions of viewers. Then came the moment that changed everything. On January 29, 2010, The Cornelia Marie was docked at St. Paul Island, Alaska, offloading a load of crab. Suddenly, Phil collapsed. He had suffered a massive stroke. His crew immediately jumped into action. They radioed for emergency help. EMTs arrived as fast as possible. Every second mattered. But St. Paul Island is extremely remote. The nearest major hospital was hundreds of miles away. The medics stabilized Phil and arranged a medevac flight to Anchorage. His sons and crew were left behind, shocked and scared as their captain and father was flown away, fighting for his life. The cameras were rolling. Every heartbreaking moment was caught on film. Every moment of Phil Harris's final days was captured on camera. Every tear, every desperate radio call for help. It raised a difficult question. Should such personal pain be shown on television? Phil couldn't give his permission, but his sons, Josh and Jake, did. Discovery Channel worked closely with the family, and the Harris brothers agreed to share their father's story. They wanted the world to see the truth, to understand the reality of the life they lived, and to honor their dad's memory. Still, even today, some people feel uneasy about that choice. At first, it seemed like Phil might survive. In the hospital, he squeezed hands, he spoke, and even joked. Doctors were amazed. Most stroke patients take weeks or months to show the progress Phil made in just a few days. Fans everywhere began to hope for a miracle. But that hope was short-lived. A sudden brain bleed changed everything. Phil's condition quickly got worse. His sons and closest friends stayed by his side, doing the only thing left, saying goodbye. On February 9, 2010, at just 53 years old, Captain Phil Harris passed away. His ashes were split in two. Half were placed in a Harley-Davidson gas tank with his mother's remains. The other half was scattered at sea, the place that had been his true home. When the Deadliest Catch episode titled Redemption Day aired on July 20, 2010, over 5.4 million people tuned in. It became one of the most watched episodes in the show's history. Viewers saw not just the death of a captain, but the deep grief of a family, the pain of a crew, and the real cost of a life spent on the sea. After Phil's death, his sons were left with a difficult mission, keeping the Cornelia Marie in the family. It was the boat their father loved, but they didn't own it outright. Buying out the other owners would take more money than they had. On top of that, the boat needed major repairs, making the situation even harder. Josh and Jake applied for loans again and again, but were turned down. Banks and investors thought they were too young, too inexperienced, and too risky. There were also family tensions. Cornelia Marie Devlin, the woman the boat was named after and a former business partner of Phil's, still had a large ownership share. She and the Harris brothers didn't always agree, which made negotiations even more difficult. For years, Josh and Jake fought to protect their dad's legacy. They had to earn respect from their crew, the fishing industry, and the millions of people watching them on television. At times, it looked like they might not make it. After Phil died, the Cornelia Marie went through one of the hardest times in its history. Captain Derek Ray, a longtime friend of Phil's, stepped in as an interim leader. His job was to keep the boat on Deadliest Catch and make sure the story continued. But almost immediately, problems began. Ray had a strict style that clashed with the grieving crew, especially Jake. At one point, Ray accused Jake of using drugs on the boat. He even called the police, hoping to scare Jake into getting clean. The moment shocked fans and rattled the crew. What had once been a close-knit team under Phil's leadership now felt broken. Morale dropped. The crew began to lose faith. When the crab catches were poor, frustration grew. Some crew members almost quit, blaming Ray for both the low numbers and the stress on board. This time in the Cornelia Marie's history was full of emotional tension, missed expectations, and personal pain. It was a reminder that life after Phil Harris would never be the same. After many years of struggle, Josh Harris finally found a way to move forward and save his father's boat. He teamed up with Casey McManus, a childhood friend who had grown into a talented engineer and deckhand. Together, they managed to gather enough money to take ownership of the Cornelia Marie. Josh bought 45% of the boat, while Casey took 5%. The other half was owned by two outside investors, each holding 25%. This partnership gave them the funds they needed to fully upgrade the vessel. They installed powerful new 750 horsepower Cummins engines and made many other important improvements. By 2015, Josh and Casey became co-captains. Josh brought passion and heart to the role, while Casey contributed deep technical knowledge and experience. They didn't always agree, and their differences sometimes confused fans. But their teamwork kept the Cornelia Marie running and brought it back to Deadliest Catch. While Josh was rebuilding the boat and trying to secure his future, his brother Jake's life was falling apart. Jake had been struggling with addiction even before their father Phil passed away. Many fans remember the episode where Phil confronted Jake for stealing painkillers. Jake admitted he had a problem. After Phil's death, things got worse. In 2010, Jake was arrested for driving under the influence. Over the next several years, he was arrested again for drug possession, car theft, and trying to sell heroin. A police chase, losing his license, and more prison time followed. By 2024, Jake was serving an 18-month sentence. His relationship with Josh and the Cornelia Marie fell apart. Jake's journey became a sad example of how addiction can destroy someone's life, even in a family that many saw as tough and determined. In October 2016, fans were stunned when they realized that Josh and the Cornelia Marie were missing from season 13 of Deadliest Catch. Rumors spread quickly online. To clear the air, Josh posted a video explaining that it wasn't because of anything that happened on the boat. It was a decision made by the show's producers. They wanted to focus on other boats that season. Josh said he and the crew were ready to fish, and he was clearly disappointed. Fans were outraged. Many even said they would stop watching the show until the Cornelia Marie returned. This showed just how connected fans felt to the Harris family and their story. The network's decision wasn't meant to be personal. They just wanted to try something new after so many years. But for Josh and his crew, being left out felt like a punch to the gut. Their lives, careers, and reputations were tied closely to the show. It was a hard lesson. No matter how real their experiences were, the show's storyline was still controlled by TV producers. On top of everything else, the Harris family faced heartbreaking health problems. At one point, more than one family member was in the ICU at the same time. In July 2024, Renee Harris had a massive heart attack. She needed a double bypass surgery, spent a week in intensive care, and was kept alive on life support. Her heart stopped 4 times. Other relatives suffered strokes, brain bleeds, and other emergencies. The stress was overwhelming. The family had to focus on survival, putting fishing and filming aside for a while. Fans responded with an outpouring of love and support, donating money, sending kind messages, and standing by the Harris family. Adding to the sorrow, Josh lost his grandfather, Captain Grant Harris. After already losing his dad, this second loss hit him hard. Josh felt the weight of trying to live up to the legacy of 2 captains before him, all while fighting his own personal battles. He has spoken openly about his struggles with depression and anxiety. But through it all, those losses pushed him to keep going. He wanted to honor his father and grandfather by keeping the Cornelia Marie's story alive. The camera crew behind Deadliest Catch became more than just people filming a show. They became like family. They stood beside the Harris family in the freezing cold, during storms, sleepless nights, and moments of grief. Sometimes, they had to step away during personal moments. But other times, they shared meals, helped with chores, and experienced everything alongside the crew. When the Cornelia Marie returned to Deadliest Catch in season 14, fans were thrilled. After being gone in 2017, its absence left many viewers feeling heartbroken. The boat's blue and yellow colors had become a symbol of the show, and a reminder of Captain Phil Harris. When Discovery Channel announced the boat's return for the 2018 season, the excitement was huge. Social media exploded with posts, memes, and even petitions asking the network to keep the Cornelia Marie on the show. Ratings jumped as people tuned in to see Josh and Casey lead the boat. It wasn't just about memories. It was about seeing if the next generation could carry on Phil's legacy. For many, the return of the Cornelia Marie felt like getting back a piece of what made the show special. Then, in 2020, the Harris story took an unexpected turn with the launch of Deadliest Catch, Bloodline. This new spin-off moved the story from Alaska's cold, rough waters to the warm shores of Hawaii. It all started when Josh discovered 50 to 60 old fishing charts hidden in Phil's room on the Cornelia Marie. Among them, 3 maps were for Hawaii. They had mysterious notes and marked fishing spots, evidence that Phil had once dreamed of fishing there. Josh Harris, determined to follow the clues his father had left behind, joined forces with his co-captain Casey McManus and a local Hawaiian fisherman named Jeff Silver. Together they began a new journey, not just to catch valuable fish like ahi tuna, which could sell for as much as $2,000 each, but to unlock a hidden part of Phil Harris's life. The old fishing maps Phil had left behind hinted at dreams and adventures beyond crab fishing in Alaska. The spin-off series Deadliest Catch, Bloodline was more than just about catching fish. It was about uncovering memories, chasing legacy, and exploring a father's mysterious past. It combined action on the water with a personal journey, which gave fans a deeper understanding of who Phil was and what he had hoped for. As the Cornelia Marie continued its journey, changes in leadership slowly became clear. Casey McManus, who had joined Josh as co-captain back in 2014, started to take on a larger role. While Josh faced personal problems and legal troubles, Casey became the person keeping the boat running day to day. By season 14 of Deadliest Catch, fans noticed that Casey was the one making most of the important decisions, handling the operations, and keeping the crew together. Behind the scenes, his leadership made sure the Cornelia Marie remained strong, both technically and financially. As Josh's presence started to fade, especially after serious issues from his past came to light, Casey's importance grew even more. Eventually, he stepped off the boat and moved into a leadership role on land, becoming a vice president at a major marine company. His rise showed that the success of the Cornelia Marie wasn't just about having a famous name, it was about steady hands and real skill. Meanwhile, Josh's life took a dramatic and tragic turn. The same fans who once rooted for him were shocked as his behavior worsened. He had relationship issues, financial troubles, and made decisions that seemed unpredictable and harmful. The most devastating moment came in September 2022, when it was revealed that he had pleaded guilty years earlier to sexually assaulting a minor.